2021 has been a strange year. Strange for pretty much everything, but especially for live music. Where 2020 was a quiet freeze, 2021 has been the slow crawl back towards normalcy. And after long lockdowns, bylaw changes, vaccines, new safety measures, and a host of other adjustments, the year is ending with music back on stages across town. There's still much to be done, but after having no live music, to having outdoor, plexiglass-wrapped performances to small festivals, we're at least finally back to good old-fashioned in-person concerts. But while it's been a weird year for concert-goers, it's been especially tough for musicians. This is Kingston Live, and in this episode, we're on location at the Mansion, as Sideshow sits down with Ricky Brant, aka KaKaow, Jonas Lewis Anthony of The Wilderness, and Ciara Roberts of Tiny Horse, to unpack the good and the bad and the weird of another pandemic year.
I didn't need to plan social activity because I would just I'll go to Miziki and all my friends will be there.
And it was just wow, the band's here so good.
It doesn't feel like a competition, it feels like a collaboration, and that's really special, I think.
Kingston's my heart.
So we're sitting down with three musicians today who have kind of made the most, I think, of the pandemic, or at least 2021, as much as you can anyway, to talk a little bit about what 2021 was for music in Kingston. So Jonas with The Wilderness recorded a new EP. They announced a tour in 2021 as well. They released a cover of Bruce Springsteen's Atlantic City, and he's also filled a big hole in Castador as well. Ricky, aka KaKaow, he's, you almost seem to energized or fueled by this whole pandemic thing. You were releasing music steadily throughout. You were busy throughout. Also being honored at the annual Mayor's Arts Awards as the recipient for this year's Creator Award, which is fantastic. And while most bands were trying to figure out if they could even keep going during a pandemic, Ciara Roberts decided to start one. Late 2020, I think it was, started the band Tiny Horse. So today we are at one of the first places I think of when I think of live music in Kingston, a stage that I think all four of us have probably performed on multiple times. We are upstairs, the living room, on the stage at the Mansion right now. Ricky, Jonas, Ciara, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
So, if I can be as broad as possible with my first question here, it would be, talk to me about 2021 as a musician. 2020, like we said, could have been pretty dark times. What was 2021 like as a musician in Kingston?
Ciara, go.
I know. I'm trying to differentiate the years right now because my big thing is I'm not sure.
Blend
2021.
So weird.
I feel like 2021 was actually quite fun, and it was more optimistic, and vaccines were rolling out, things were kind of opening up, and opportunities were being presented.
Push of energy for sure.
Totally. And then you guys were probably had the same situation where you'd sort of set up all of these shows or been excited about shows, and then they kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And I think that 2021 was when these shows that you'd been thinking about for years were actually kind of starting to happen. So I liked 2021 because I felt like it was 2020 for Tiny Horse, at least, was where we kind of started and wrote a lot of our music and practiced a lot. One of the benefits of being stuck in an apartment with Ray all the time was that we were just always able to play and write and stuff like that. So I think that was kind of a benefit for us, that we were able to get pretty tight so that when we were able to play, it wasn't garbage, and it was good. So yeah, 2021 I think has been exciting, and we were able to just do different things, actually start playing shows. It was really interesting when we started to play our first shows because we'd been kind of singing these songs for 6 to 8 months, and then we came to an audience and people sang them back to us, just our friends and stuff, but we're like, oh my God, yeah, they had time to learn the words.
This year has been okay, I remember January going into the second lockdown, and just being, I think, the most miserable I've ever been in my life. Because the first lockdown at the beginning of COVID was terrifying at the beginning, and then it was the fucking best thing ever. I was getting CERB, I was gardening every day, I was walking my dog, I was like, retirement, this shit's dope. This will all be over by Christmas, the war's over. Yeah. And it wasn't. So at the beginning of 2021, when we were in lockdown, I was fucking miserable. And I started to think to myself, okay, I need to make a plan B, because what I have been doing as a musician for as long as I have been able to walk, basically, that's never going to come back. And it really did feel like it was never going to come back. I tried to be creative in my spare time in the lockdowns and stuff, and it wasn't really doing it for me. I was just like so bummed out that I'd like pick up my guitar and I'd try and do something and I'd just be like, oh, this sucks, I'm miserable. But then that lockdown ended, and then I started rehearsing again with the guys in sort of like February, March, which was great because it was like the first time we'd actually all been in the same room together in quite some time. So it was like, yes, things are moving again. And then we got locked down again. And I was like, fuck, okay, what am I gonna do for the rest of my life? Because I was like, I sure as shit, I'm not gonna bartend. And without being a musician, I do not know who I am. And my life is basically over. I was telling my girlfriend that I was gonna move to a ranch and become a cowboy. And I was like so serious about it that she was getting worried that I was just gonna leave in the middle of the night. Thank God I didn't do that.
I would just like to point out that Jonas arrived here in a pickup truck.
Yeah, cowboy.
We are closer and closer to that cowboy
I
dream.
bought a pair of cowboy boots.
Did you?
I did. They cost me so much money, and they hurt like hell. I don't know how anyone does anything else. But that was like, one of my quarter-life crises. But then that lockdown ended in June, right? And things just happened so quickly. I couldn't believe it. I got my first dose of the vaccine, and I just like wept in my car on the way home because I was like, holy shit, I might be able to do this again. I might be able to go home and see my mom. I might be able to get on stage, and I'm like one step closer to doing what I love and what I've thrown my life down the toilet to do, And then August rolled around, and live shows were allowed outside. And then I've never been fucking busier in my entire life. It was like 2020, we didn't step foot on stage once for 8 months. And then from August till now, we have not stopped playing. And I am so busy, I'm losing my mind. And it's the best feeling in the entire world. And the other night, we were loading into a show. And I was almost being like, oh man, load-in sucks. And I was like, hang on a second, I fucking live for this. I bought this like stupid $700 like rolling tool case that you'd have at a mechanics that we keep everything in, and it's super convenient because everything is there, but it's so heavy and so awkward and everyone complains about it. But I was like lugging this thing that was breaking my back, and I was like, I've missed this pain so much. And now inside shows are happening, and tours are happening, and like festivals are happening, and it's like just being able to plan for the future again. And those plans are actually probably maybe working out. Since August, I have been the happiest I've been, I think, in my entire life. Yeah.
It's great to hear.
Long-winded. Sorry.
No, that's
really nice.
great.
But I will become a cowboy at some point.
Working on it.
No, I'm working
Move
on
to
it.
North
Tom
America,
Jonas.
become a cowboy,
That's
right?
me.
I feel like the wilderness now is very cowboy. Like you guys have your nipples out, your leather vests on.
Yeah, the
like,
vests and nipples.
I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption.
Ricky, what was 2021 for you, man?
I have a very different perspective being a solo musician as opposed to having to, I guess, rely on anybody else. 2021 for me was a grand year. I think I've released 3 albums, a couple of EPs. Yeah, and I got a couple more on the back burner that I want to release by December just so I can get it out. And it's just... So, yeah, at the beginning of 2021, I had a lot of music to release, and COVID and lockdown just invigorated me. I became more inspired than I ever had. Just as a solo musician, I could really hibernate and figure out what I really wanted to do. And through that, I've been in a Patreon class with a professional DJ from Calgary named Sticky Buds, and through that I've been learning production techniques and just a ton of stuff through what I've been able to essentially adapt to my own work. And through that, I've just been making music constantly. I think throughout the entire pandemic, I know Future or Free released an album that was song a week during lockdown, but I think I've released over a song a week for the entirety of COVID.
Right.
For 100 weeks, I think. I have over 125 songs that I've made since lockdown, and I just feel like I've been invigorated to just be KaKaow. There's never been a better time.
That's fucking awesome.
Thank you so much. And and being locked down with my fiance, she's really inspired me to really just be as much as I can be and just try to create the most out there kind of psychedelic dance, electronic, funky stuff I can. And it's been awesome.
I'm curious about this from all of your perspectives, but I want to start with Ricky for a second because you touched on it about how creative you felt during lockdown and you had a chance to really explore what KaKaow was and what that music was going to be.
Right.
How long into the pandemic before you started getting that creativity? Was there a lull, or was it like immediately you're like, you know what, there's a few weeks I'm going to be sitting at home, I'm going to start making some music? When did it start for you?
Started immediately, but there's been ups and downs throughout the time, and just life as we have it, it gets to you. Sometimes you feel invigorated. It has its ups and downs, but off the bat, I felt fucking ready to go and just make as much music as I can. But yeah, there's been times where I've been feeling so demotivated and so depressed, especially after the lockdown. Like Jonas said, playing no shows. Like, I am a live performance guy. Yeah. We've played for years together, and we know the energy that we can put out on stage. And like that, as a musician, just zapped everything that happened within the COVID kind of creation. But through that, just, I guess we all try to find our own tenacity and just keep on with the creation that we strive to do, because what else would we be doing? Why are we here, right?
Ciara, I'm curious about your take on 2021 as or just the pandemic as far as getting into the creativity goes, because you started the band in 2020.
Totally.
We were in the throes of the pandemic at the point that you started Tiny Horse. Mm-hmm. How far in did you realize I'm gonna start creating? I'm gonna use this time to create.
It wasn't right away. Like, I think that I just watched TV for 6 months straight and just tried to.
We're only gonna be locked down for a couple of weeks. This will all be cleared up. Yeah.
Just like a sick day for months. But so I would say it took probably until the spring of the first sort of lockdown for us to get going. But one thing that I find is that in order to be creative, I have to be bored. I have to have a lot of time to do nothing and just kind of let your brain wander to get an idea, especially with the guitar. I feel like if I'm just picking up a guitar for 5 minutes, I'm just playing the same Feist lick and then putting it down for whatever, a couple weeks. But when you're bored and you're just sitting there doing the same thing, I don't know, I find that once the ideas start to come, when Ray and I are writing, at least I find that we'll kind of get on a roll. In a couple days, we'll maybe write 2 or 3 songs, and then we'll stop for maybe whatever, a couple weeks. But when they come, they kind of come almost as like a story. You get a couple characters going, or you get a night or something. So one thing that I found helpful was when things started to open up a bit was our first kind of songs that we wrote are kind of about us or our feelings or emotions. And then when we got out into the world, the simplest thing, meeting a really drunk girl that's crying all night. That was we're okay, here's the idea. And then we were able to write a song about that. But the smallest thing or the smallest interaction with someone that a complete stranger was really a huge source of inspiration. And especially with our music, I think a lot of it is kind of character based or based off of little moments that have happened in our daily life. It was really awesome when we got to kind of get back out there. But no, I think that like if any artist, I don't know if you guys agree, but you have to be bored. You have to not be on your phone. You have to like watch some movies, read some books, sit around and do nothing, and then like that's kind of how the ideas come, for me at least.
I once watched a TED Talk that says that it essentially, in a nutshell, said that boredom inspires creativity because that lack of anything fills a void for that creativity to come in and fill it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Jonas?
I'm such a weirdo. Like, I don't know. I'm like super ADHD. Like, I have to take like a pretty high dose of Vyvanse every day just to like not be a complete fucking disaster.
I'm on Abilify, man. So.
Oh my god! I just got off that shit. That shit sucks, dude.
Dude, it works for me.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that.
I'm happy
That's
that
great.
what works for you works for you.
It took a
dude.
long time, but now I figured it out. But with that in mind, like, I was on like such a high dose of antidepressants and like mood stabilizers for most of 2020 that for me just sapped any kind of creativity out. You know, like we just had written Until Tomorrow and recorded it, and then the first lockdown happened and I was like, oh well, I'm not inspired to write any songs because I've just written so many songs for an album and I kind of feel a bit empty now. So for the rest of the year I wasn't really writing, and I was trying to like sort of like force myself to write something, and then like my brain was just like a, you know, brick wall, you know, like I couldn't get anything out. And then blah blah blah, changed up my meds, blah blah blah, Vyvanse, everything's great. Long story short is like I can't sit still. I get bored and distracted very easily, and the distractions are like a really difficult thing for me to work through. So I just can't do anything productive at home. That's my problem. I think that there's too many distractions at home. In January, I was trying to write some songs, and I wrote one that I am actually quite proud of. But it's the same thing. Like when I was in high school, I was such a shit student. I could not focus. I'd go home to do my homework and I wouldn't do it because I'd go to the fridge and, oh, what's in the fridge? Oh, there's ketchup. Oh, is that a squirrel?
Preaching to the choir, brother.
I wonder if that squirrel has eaten ketchup before. Now I'm on YouTube watching squirrels taking baths in ketchup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I'd go to the library to do
this
my homework,
happened, didn't it? The squirrels and ketchup
Yeah,
thing.
it did.
That was too specific.
Yeah,
to not have
just
happened.
so
Dirty.
many ketchup-covered squirrels. But if I go to the library, right, in an environment that is like, okay, you need to shut the fuck up and focus on your homework. That for me was like, okay, I have to do it. And there were fewer distractions. So I found that trying to write at home and trying to do it in my bedroom, where my dog's jumping on the bed, my girlfriend's trying to sleep, or, you know, people like my roommates are coming in and out, I couldn't do it. So that's why I found it really, really hard to be creative at home. I've always found it much easier to go and be creative by removing myself from like my normal home environment and like going somewhere different, or working with somebody who can be like, Jonas, pen, paper, guitar, get to work, you know? And since coming out of lockdown and since not having to be at home all the time, I've been so much more creative. But the downside is I have less time because I'm working, and, you know, but yeah, I just can't do anything at home.
So wait, where do you do it?
I'll go for a drive sometimes, and then I'll like bring like a notebook, or like I'll go for a walk and I'll bring a notebook. I've written so many songs walking my dog, which I guess I could have done during COVID and lockdowns.
Hindsight's 2020.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. Yeah, right on. Yeah, like as a band, we've always gone away to like a little cottage or like a cabin to do writing. That's where we wrote Until Tomorrow, and we're going to a buffalo ranch in BC this month to do some more writing.
One step closer to being a cowboy.
Well, guess who booked that? Guess who booked that Airbnb? I was like, guys, I don't know, it's perfect. But yeah, like around Kingston, like the place that I find it easy to write is just anywhere that isn't my house.
Nice.
If it's my bandmate's house, if it's sometimes I go sit at the bar, you know, sometimes I go to a friend's house. I don't know. I just can't do it at home because I'm an idiot.
I agree with the car so much because I feel like, I don't know, the car's like, I feel like people that can't sing love to sing in their car. It's just like, it's like a soundproof, moving, you know, you got your moment, you got your music going. But I feel like I probably should get so many tickets from the Kingston Police, because if I have an idea, I will turn the voice memo on and be trying to sing loudly into the voice memo, and I have so many. I probably have 40 sketchy voice notes on my thing, being like, Dad, oh God, here we go,
backgrounds.
Probably with the radio on in the background, because I feel like sometimes if you hear a song, you can kind of get almost an instant inspiration from it, where you're like, oh. They should have done this.
Yeah, and I'm about to do that.
And I'm going to steal this. Yeah.
Just expand it.
So the car, I totally agree.
Yeah. The fewer distractions for me, the better, I think.
That's why I like headphones.
Headphones are great.
Headphones in solitary confinement.
So your music, do you ever have lyrics, or is it's all instrumental?
Yes, I do have lyrics.
You do? Okay.
Sometimes. I have more lyrics on features than I do with myself. But I like to write lyrics, and I find that some of the best lyrics that come out of KaKaow are my own.
Cool.
Yeah, like the song Flip the System.
Okay.
I wrote it about Indigenous rights and empowerment, and just kind of a big spiel of that as everything was going down. And what would you do if they take away your money? What would they do if you took away your mind? Right? Mm-hmm. So... And that's I have so many features of just rap tunes, and that's one thing about the pandemic is just I found so many homies just wanted to create so many music, and I was just pumping out so much that it was just logical kind of thing to be able to do with a bunch of friends, get a bunch of features. But then I started, I think I wrote, I only have 4 songs of KaKaow that I've ever written lyrics for, and I just think they're the best in that sense.
Sick.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're right, all of your music is so incredibly cool, but so music, it's just so many different music lines and things that I feel like. Do you ever when you're writing it, do you write it in your head, or do you have to be on the bass or have to be on the guitar?
So when I write my music, I'm usually just at my DAW, and it all comes out in one conscious stream.
Cool.
Lyrics are so far beyond me. I have to get in mode, like Jonas says. It's you have to be there. It just comes to you. And I rarely have that happen, but when it does, it's just you guys know, it's that stroke of genius. You're like, fuck yeah, I wrote the best song that I've ever written, right? And it's that next kind of adaptation of what you do. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't spent enough energy, and COVID has really gotten to me in that I've spent so much time learning production techniques and soundscaping and synthesis that I've just backed away in sense from writing lyrics, when in Shislang I'd write half the songs, right?
Yeah.
So,
man, I want to invent a waterproof notepad and paper, because I'm always singing shit in the shower. I'm that's amazing. I'm trying to write it on the condensation, and it's fucking gone. I wrote a love song for my dog in the shower that I thought was amazing, and then
for me,
it's gone.
It needs to be
the
a
love
notepad
song for your dog
hanging
doesn't
from
exist
the toilet
anymore.
paper.
It does not.
That's a damn shame.
I know,
dude.
That's a damn shame.
I have an idea, and if I don't write it down immediately, it's gone.
I had 2 cats die, and I wrote songs for both of them, and I've never released them. They're
Put
just
them out.
completely
God,
private
Ciara,
songs.
come on.
They're
Do you think
deeply
you
emotional.
would? Do you think you would?
Absolutely.
You'd release them?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's a largely different side of me that is just not funk all the time and super energy and KaKaow. I like to cry to music every day.
Same.
Yeah, man.
I get up in the morning and I listen to things like Knocks Me Off My Feet by Stevie Wonder, and I just think about my fiance and just how beautiful the world is and my cats, and it's just the greatest thing.
My favorite playlist that I've ever curated
Get outside yourself.
is called Crying on the Kitchen Floor.
I fucking
And I
love
play
it.
it every Monday night when I'm bartending at Red House between the hours of 12 and 2 a.m. because there's fucking nobody there.
Well, I gotta
Just
get you
me
on that,
and one of
man.
the drunk cooks, and we're just sitting around crying
What's
until
on
I
it?
close the bar. It's got Ken Yates and Donovan Woods and just sad stuff. The saddest tunes.
You need to put some Sister Mahalia Jackson on there, man.
Sister Mahalia Jackson.
She is the most soul of soul singers that has ever inspired soul singers. She will make you cry.
I love crying.
You are.
Cry a lot.
So if you're ever in need of a good cry, so Red House from midnight till 2 a.m. on
Monday
Mondays.
nights.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
Jonas
come
has
cry
got
with
his
me
place
and
to
the one
be.
cook who's there.
He's got his crying playlist.
Crying on the kitchen floor. That's what it's called.
So, while we're on the topic of writing, did any of you feel I don't know, like a need or a pressure to write about the world right now? Like, not just the world right now, because let's face it, there's more going on than the pandemic. Ricky, you've obviously already touched on that.
Absolutely.
But the pandemic, did you ever feel like, I think I got to write about this? This is something that needs to be, I don't know, documented or cataloged in music.
Fuck. I mean, I don't ever want to fucking talk about COVID. I don't want to. I don't want to think about it.
fucking COVID.
I don't want to hear the words social distancing, anti-masker, anti-vaxxer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just been so draining.
And there's so much division behind
And there's so much,
man.
and like the thing is it really should be over by now. But there are people who are just choosing to prolong this forever.
Right. As there will be.
So, I guess like the short answer is like I don't want to sing about COVID. I don't
Totally.
want to write about COVID. I don't
Totally.
want to give anybody any reasons to ever think about this shit ever again. But one of the things I have been trying to write about is how fucked up the world is aside from COVID. And I think lots of the issues that we're seeing right now, a lot of the things have stemmed from, the situation that COVID presented, like pandemic made everybody stop. It made us question, like, where we get our food from. Who's bringing you the food? Who's serving it to you? Who's, like, working in the factories? Who is making money in large quantities and who is suffering? You know?
It largely imparted a state of civil unrest. I mean, America almost had a coup happen.
Yeah.
And it's being overlooked so blatantly. And it's just like, well, these crazy things are happening, and how can we ignore it when, like, so many things of an umbrella of the COVID experience is happening. So we just blanket it with that, right? And then we don't engage upon different things like we should, because, like you said, man, people are just, some people have unnecessary unwillingness to, just be a part of the human experience and like the best part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like
the other thing too is that, like, I think people have taken this opportunity and this time, and I think everybody sees the world quite differently. One of the things, like, I work in the service industry. It fucking sucks. Like, working in the service industry throughout a pandemic has been utter dog shit. It hasn't been as bad as being an ICU doctor or an ICU nurse or a myriad of other awful jobs like first responder. Imagine driving an ambulance right now.
scary.
Yeah, terrifying.
dude.
But, so many people have left the service industry in monumental numbers. And people are like, I just don't understand why these lazy millennials don't want to work. Actually, no, they don't want to fucking die bringing you a fucking Bud Light. That's why. Yeah. And the ones that have left have either found a job that is better and treats them better, or they have died. Because in the service industry, aside from the medical care, and these are statistics from the States, so take them with a grain of salt, but the highest death rate in any workforce outside of healthcare in the US during COVID were food service workers and people who worked in bars. You're touching things that go in and out of people's mouths every day.
Yep.
It was the only setting that you would go in, like before people got vaccinated, where you were the only people wearing masks and everybody else wasn't. And you get a couple people, get a few beers in them. They forget that there's a pandemic going on. I had someone spit at me. I had someone take a fucking swing at me because I told him to put his mask on. It's been dog shit. So people have been leaving the workforce.
Yep. I've been harassed because of the pandemic and trying to enforcing
and that's
just health protocols.
That's the shit that riles me up. It's really kind of shown people for who they really are, and it's shown me how fragile our society is and how things are hanging on by a thread and how so many people are being so terribly abused across the board, and how other people just keep getting fucking richer. And that really
there's
fires
such
me
a
up.
degree of absurdity to what is all happening there in that sense. We have billionaires going to the moon.
Fuck you.
And we have Elon Musk pledging $6 billion to help save world hunger.
Why don't you just pay your fucking taxes?
To the UN, right? Why don't they all pay taxes? Yeah. Anyways.
Kiara, what about you?
I found, no. It's good, nice. I didn't feel that never like came where I wanted to write about the pandemic or anything like that. But I found that, and I didn't even think that I'd be really into listening to like music and movies about it. Like I'm kind of on the same page as you guys, where I'm like I don't want to hear about it again. One song that I love that kind of was really double COVID and with the Black Lives Matter was Anderson .Paak Lockdown.
Ooh,
and that
yeah.
song
Yeah.
nailed it. Like it was like, it talked about the issues. It was like, what was very clearly like about something very like specific and about COVID, but it's such a good song. And I think when he said he wrote it for like when people were out in the streets and he felt like he needed to have like a bit of an anthem going. And so I think that there are some good songs that are kind of in that vein. That I do like that came out of it when I didn't think that maybe
Absolutely.
I'd want to listen to it. That's a sick song.
That reminds me, Chromeo released a whole COVID-inspired album, and it was just funk songs about like Clorox wipe and like stuff like that. And
some people can do it like
paper.
nicely.
Yeah. Vaccination.
Thank you for listening to Kingston Live. Be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For more great Kingston music, check out the Kingston Live playlist on Spotify. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. You can also hear our sister show, Kingston Live On Air, on Amherst Island Radio and CFRC.
Let's talk about the light at the end of the tunnel I was talking about earlier here as we take a little bit brighter of a turn.
Sorry, I just dragged
No,
it
it's
down.
all right.
I got
It's
on
all
my
right.
soapbox.
So 2021, we saw the return. You talked about it off the top, Jonas, how important it was to you that you were able to get back on stage. First outdoors, behind plexiglass. I feel like I remember you guys playing a show with little plexiglass like connected to your microphones. I think that was at McKinnon Brothers, if I remember correctly. Just getting back on stage. Now that things are opening up more, you're able to play to larger crowds. You're able to play more normal shows than let's say at the beginning when, you were singing into a plexiglass thing on your microphone. What has it been like for you guys to get back on stage this year?
It has been the best feeling in the world. Like I've cried every show that I cry all the time. Cowboys cry too, right? But I've cried at every single show because it's just I thought I would never get to do it again. And I really was questioning what I was going to have to do with the rest of my life if I couldn't do this again. And the fact that people are coming out and that they are excited and crowds recently have been the best that I've ever seen them because everybody has missed live music and there's a new appreciation for it. It has just been so wonderful. And I'm so overcome with joy. And it's really reminded me how fucking privileged I am that I get to do this. That has been such a huge reminder that I am so lucky, so lucky that I have survived a pandemic so far. So have all the people I love, more or less, and somehow through the miracles of science and people listening to scientists and people who know way better than them, we get to do those things again. This is my life's work. I don't know who I am without this. So getting back on stage was very nerve-wracking. I was very nervous, but it feels amazing. It just, I can't even describe. If I could bottle that feeling from the first time getting on stage, like in August of this year, after so long, and sell it, I just couldn't put a price on how good that felt. It's the best.
Ciara, you talked about your band starting and you had like 8 months before you could even get on stage.
Totally, yeah.
Anyway, what was it like to be able to actually get on stage and play in front of people?
It was the first show that we did was at the Isabel Bader, which I feel like both of you guys have played that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you just feel so cool walking into that.
That's
you
a
know,
great
beautiful
first show.
space.
Yeah.
I know. And
Yeah.
everybody that works there is so like nice. And anyway, we walked in and it was like, this is also awesome. One of the things is like every show we've done has been sold out because you can have like 10 people there. So we're like sold out.
Yeah,
Anyway,
nice.
So we sold out the Bader with like, I think it was 70 seats or something. So we
Nice.
go on the stage, we're like all excited and we look out and you can't see anyone. Like it's like my Aunt Catherine and then like my friends here and like everybody's like 9 seats apart and we're like, okay, a little different than, you know, what we were anticipating, but still very, very fun. Like I agree. I think that like I'm definitely fueled by live performance and I love being in front of a crowd. So actually getting to do it in front of people was awesome. And I completely agree with what you said about how audiences have been just incredible. I feel like even just as an audience member or whenever we've done a show, it has been so fun to be there. And I feel like people are just excited to be out, excited to be seeing their like favorite musicians and things like that. So no, overall, like I think one silver lining that we can really kind of take from all that happened is that I think people have a newfound appreciation for the artist, and especially on a local level, like I've never felt really more appreciated. People treat it like it's like a sold out Scotiabank show, you know, like, and you're at the Mansion, which is can make it feel even more awesome, you know, like it's been really fun.
Ricky?
It's it's been a mixed bag. I honestly gotta say, I've been really nervous getting back up on stage, and I've had a lot of anxiety to the point where I've been coping in different ways that necessarily haven't been healthy, and that just spirals me into this anxiety of being on stage and being present in public. And it's just that, and that's the one thing that COVID has done to me is that throughout all my creation, I feel most unapt to be doing it live now, even though I consider myself completely a live performer. I've had a bunch of performances out, and it's always hit, but there's been certainly a mixed bag. I mean, I'm definitely a underground artist. I mean, you gotta be in the vibe to come see a KaKaow show. It's not easy listening by any means. Aside from all that, playing live is just invigorating. Now, just as getting back into it, it feels like I just gotta work in those new boots again, you know? Like I started off KaKaow just like a half a year before the pandemic hit. And I was playing some shows. I played Halloween here at the Mansion, played Musiki, Toucan, and all these places, but then the confidence of it just completely left from me for being able to play live and knowing how I can really bring it. And that's something I'm trying to come to terms more with now, especially as I create more dynamic music and understand how the performance aspect of it all fits in, because I create the music and then I think about performance after. And it's a very different thing where it's you guys work with your band, so you know directly how you're performing it. So when I go and create all these albums of music, I gotta think, oh shit, now I got all these gigs and I gotta figure out how the sets are gonna work out. I play guitar and bass and synthesizers over top of my music. So it's been a bit tumultuous, I gotta say, coming back out to the live kind of scene just for me.
I share the anxiety too. The other thing too is like interacting with so many people after not interacting with people at all.
Yeah,
that was really fucking overwhelming. Like back to the farm, well, there was like 6,000 people there, and it was crazy because I haven't seen 6,000 people in the same space in like it literally had been 2 years to that point.
Yeah,
but it was okay because it was outside. But the first indoor show we did was actually here, and it was a couple of weeks after Back to the Farm and the Blue Stone show, and like busy shows with thousands of people.
Yeah.
But I was terrified for this show because it was inside. And it was like, you got to do the cutting ribbons, kissing babies, shaking hands thing, but there's a pandemic going on and you don't know. I just hate how like I've become fearful of people that I would never be fearful of before, because I don't know whether well, at this point, no, maybe I think everybody did have to be doubly dosed at that point by the time they were indoor shows. But you know what I mean? It was like getting back into the thing of live shows. I'm like, is the person who wants to give me a hug and take a picture with me, who isn't wearing a mask, are they vaccinated or not? Because you know what I mean? And like, that's been really stressful, because you do want to give everybody the time of day after a show who's come out and spent money and blah, 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 blah. But also, like, I'm really don't want to get COVID. And I'm doubly vaxxed and stuff, but still, like, there's still a chance, you know, and I don't want to give it to somebody else. And
I feel the exact same, dude. I'm a double kidney transplant patient, immunosuppressed, and, like, I'm on the high-risk side of catching COVID, and that's been a huge concern for me for being able to even go out and play live, is should I even?
As far as the performance anxiety that you both kind of touched on, does it change once you're on stage? Or does the anxiety change at all on stage?
Yeah.
Yeah?
yeah, I think people see my onstage persona and they're like, that guy must be the most confident person in the world. I'm throwing up in the bathroom before, and then I'm like,
Totally.
like rocking myself to sleep in the fetal position, be like, oh my God, I'm so useless. But my pre-show anxiety like was at its peak in 2019 to the point where it's pretty debilitating. Now I feel like I get like a decent level of nervousness that's healthy, and as soon as I'm on stage, it's just adrenaline.
Yeah.
What about you, Ciara?
Yeah, no, I'm always nervous before I go on. And I've done I come from like a theater background, and I never really got nervous when I was doing improv or theater or things like that. And then when I started...
Improv scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, totally. You don't know what's going to happen, man. But for me, it's like if I'm just singing and I'm on stage, like say Ray's playing the guitar, I'm way less nervous. But it's when I have to play the guitar too. And I'm honestly I'm pretty getting I'm more confident, and I think I'm a good guitar player and stuff like that. But when you're doing both, guys, that's hard. It is tricky to, and then you're like, I wrote this song. What's the next chord? Where am I going? And I've been kind of approaching incorporating more solos and stuff into our music. And the first times that you do it, you're already on stage, and then you go and you're trying to make a solo sound cool. And the first couple times, it's not going to sound cool. It's going to sound, it's like walking through friggin' fire. It's like meep, meep, meep sort of thing. So I find that if I'm just singing, I'm way less nervous, but when I'm actually accompanying myself too, I get way more nervous. But honestly, been playing with Ray as well. I find the second you have someone else on stage, which is maybe you should. Well, actually, you do play with other people sometimes, don't you, Ricky?
A vocalist when they want to.
Okay.
When I decide to.
But I feel like when it's more than one person up there, my nerves go down.
Yeah.
So much, because it's more fun. You're like, okay.
Yeah. You can get pumped up together, and you can do a hug and be like, yeah, let's 1, 2, 3 show.
I get exactly that, but with my homies and with myself.
Yeah.
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 It is nice to know that you have somebody or some group of people up there with you that
it's
you
like
can...
having an anchor up there.
Yeah, it's
and you guys are there together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all live through the same thing. Before COVID, one of my favorite things was when we all fucking bombed a show. We'd all get into the van and just leave Omaha, Nebraska in the rearview mirror and be like, this place fucking sucks. Fuck Omaha.
Yeah, those guys
we were the
suck.
ones that were dog shit. But you can experience being
Totally.
dog shit together.
Yeah.
You know?
And not just for your music, how have you seen just the scene in Kingston change over this last year? Has it changed at all?
Oh gosh, it's gradually changed. I'd say music is more accessible because people are willing to just invite that sense of hey, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to be home. So I might as well delve into something I don't know more so. I got into bands like Future Free, Hinterwood, Hollywood, just a ton of bands through that kind of sense of everything. I feel it's really invigorating.
I think a lot of people also just really refined during this time, okay, what can we do better? One of the things that we did is when we were able to, we got together and we rehearsed like crazy. And then we were doing every rehearsal with a sound guy, and James Atkinson, who's the sound guy here at the mansion. He's the man. And we brought Pete Ferrand, who I just found out after calling him Farnard for a year. That's not his name. I'm the worst.
He's a French.
Yeah. Pete Ferrand would come to our rehearsals and do lights too. And we just really tried to refine. And I've noticed that a lot of musicians around town have been doing that. They've really been honing in on their craft. And like,
Absolutely.
just, you know what, man? Musicians are some of the most resilient fucking people on the planet. Because the amount of curveballs thrown at musicians this year, and how in the last 2 years, and how everybody has been able to adapt. And okay, we're going to move everything online, and then okay, we're going to do seated shows, or we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
At that point, I find Kingston musicians really freaking resilient. Like, there's been so many people like Ted Evans live streaming and doing so many crazy different outlets, and like really, like you say, honing in on their work, really like inspiring their craft until they release it, because we have this time. It's super fucking cool.
I think it was kind of cool coming out the other end of it too, because I feel going into it, there were certain people that you would see playing often, and now that we're on the other side of it, there's a lot of new names and a lot of kind of new stuff going on, and I think that's exciting that a lot of people got it really together, or even just like maybe even develop more songs so that they feel like they can whatever headline a show, not have to open for someone again, like that
Sell
sort of
their
thing.
live performance, and then
and you know, it's such a cliche, you don't know what you got till it's gone, blah, 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 blah. But I really feel that audiences, not just in Kingston, but hopefully everywhere, I've realized, holy shit, live music was such an integral part of our lives. Like, think about it. What are you going to do this weekend? There's a band playing at the Toucan. Let's go check them out. Oh, yeah, my buddies are touring and they're playing at the Mansion. Let's go. Like, going back to see, not to perform in a live show, but to see a live show, oh my God, it was the best feeling ever. Because I'd played shows, but I hadn't gone to see one. And everybody I was standing with, I went down to see Brother Elsie at the Merchant a couple weeks ago. It was the first live show that I'd gone to see since COVID. I wasn't playing in. I went on my own. I was just elated, and so was everyone. And I think everybody really realized how integral music is to their lives, and not just recording music, but live music is to their lives. And everybody's been making an effort to go and enjoy that experience and pay for it and support them by buying their merch, and so on and so on.
it becomes spiritual at that point. Like, we need it. It's a part of us. It's integral, right?
Do you guys have any tickets that you have lined up? People that you're excited to see?
I'm going to go see the Honest Heart Collective at their album release show in Thunder Bay on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Because we're driving through. And I'm going to go see the Manchester Orchestra in March. Which is super stoked. And maybe, I'm going to fly home to England and see Sam Fender for my sister's birthday. But maybe.
Nice.
Maybe. What about you?
You like Sam Fender? What?
I am
That is
obsessed.
surprising.
What about you?
A cowboy like you, eh?
Yeah, I know. That's
A
a Northern
British
Englishman.
cowboy like you that likes Bruce Springsteen.
I am a very, very peculiar person.
I have like a small fortune out in tickets right now, but my next show that I have tickets to, I have tickets to the Bahamas show at the
Sick.
Spire, which I'm stoked for. I'm really excited. This is pretty random, but Ali and AJ, the Disney Channel stars, they came out with an album this year. It is incredible. It's like awesome pop music, and I have tickets to see them in April, and I am very much looking forward to that.
If they want you to go, this is a potential breakup song. Absolute slap of that one.
Seriously,
Love it.
and yeah, their album is. I would recommend it.
I'm going to see Phil of the Future in the future. Sam Coffee and the Iron Lungs are playing on my birthday this Saturday for free.
Oh,
So
cool.
I think I might go check that out.
Yeah?
That's about it.
Sick.
Where are they playing?
Here at the Mansion.
Oh, they're playing here at the Mansion.
KPP is putting it on.
Right on.
Their
Oh,
only
cool.
free concert going on, and it's on my birthday. So I'm like,
Oh,
yo,
perfect
I'm
timing.
bringing a crew
Happy
out to that.
birthday, KaKaow.
Thank you.
We talked about how 2020 and 2021 kind of blended together, right?
Totally.
Like early on, I asked you a question, you're like, I don't even remember what happened in each of those years. They're just kind of all one thing. So this might be a difficult question, but speaking of Kingston music, I'd love to know what your favorite album or release was over. We'll try and do 2021, but if it bleeds into 2020, I'm not going to fault you for it.
Okay. Julia Finnegan.
Oh, love Julia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's great.
Dude, her out. I can't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. I think the singles came out.
I think it's 2021.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
2020.
Wallflower
I think
Baby.
single, like a single came out at the end of 2020.
Yeah.
And then the album came out at the beginning of this year. I have
that one
listened
was-
to her record start to finish like 100 times.
I think Plain Jane is like one of the best.
Oh
the
my God.
best songs.
That's
yeah.
on my Crying on the Kitchen Floor playlist.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cry to Plain Jane.
Yeah. She is amazing.
Yeah.
Technically
Julie is
speaking,
awesome.
it came out in 2020, but that's
Did it?
okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
let it slide.
Okay,
I'm gonna
okay.
let it slide. I don't have the exact date, but December 2020.
Okay.
So I'll let that
okay,
slide.
Okay.
I'll let that slide.
I'm a big fan of Shan Alcorn, and she did. I'm not sure if she did. She released, I think, a single, and then she was part of the KPP at 20 videos that recently came out, which is another thing that I think has really risen to the surface is like video live sessions, which are my favorite things
Same.
to watch. Love that.
Love them.
Your
I
guys' was awesome, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, yours was
Jonas.
cool too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Was it the hottest day of the whole year when they filmed those?
Yeah, it just happens to me.
You
I
must
don't know.
have, yeah. It was, anyway, those videos are awesome. But I really like Shan and what she's doing. So I'm going to say Shan.
Do you have a favorite, Ricky?
Future Freeze producer was just spot on. I mean, the dreamy synth-like tones and the way they're able to stretch out what alternative music is, I found that really connected with just what I was looking for in Kingston. And they don't even play any of the synths live, and I'm like, guys, you need a synth player.
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
I'm trying to think of like
But,
other
like-
great releases this year. Like I'm drawing blanks, but I know that there was a lot.
Was it Kingston specifically?
Yeah.
Drip and Drizzle by KaKaow.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, totally.
Flip the System by KaKaow. 100% by KaKaow. I've had a
'em
bunch
up.
of releases.
Look 'em up.
I think there's 5 of them.
Hinterwood just came out with their music a few weeks ago,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's called
right.
Flamingo's pretty. It's a really different kind of
And
song,
they just
but it's very
switched
cool.
lead singers,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, Sadie. McFadden.
Sadie is now singing for them, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, she
I
rocks.
just recently had an interview with her on CFRC. She's awesome.
nice.
Yeah. Totally fits the band, too.
Ryan, what about you? Favorite Kingston release? Put you on the spot here, bud.
Yeah, no, you are. That's okay.
You got 3 Kingston musicians.
Yeah,
right
no,
here.
well, it's
Atlantic City.
yeah. You know, I really did like Atlantic
Thank
City.
you very much.
I've always, and it's funny because I've always loved that song.
Me too.
I bought your guys' last record last year, too. You dropped it off at my house, and I wasn't there
Oh, sorry.
to
bud.
see you.
When did the Bathhouse recordings come out? That was 2019, wasn't it?
No, so until tomorrow, like the full album came out in August of 2020, and then we did like some live stuff. But yeah, the album
Yeah.
came out in 2020.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it's like I would have probably, if I guess we're talking 2021, it's tough to say. But yeah, I love that record, Jonas. It was
Thanks,
excellent.
I really wasn't looking for to be like, hey Ryan, talk
No.
about
I mean, and I mean,
But go on.
I've told you I'm a fan before, so it's not like it's no secret. I'm
Thanks, man.
I'm a fan of what you guys are doing, and I'm really excited to hear what you're doing with Casador as well.
Thank you.
We actually got stopped downstairs here at the mansion while we were going to get a drink. Some guy's like, "I need to know what it's gonna sound like.
And I'm
Tell me what it's gonna sound
What's
like."
going on
I'm
there?
like, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Just gotta equalize that gruff voice.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Was it did Oak Ridge Ave's album come out
Oh,
in
yeah,
2021 as
totally.
well? It was
Yeah,
really
it did.
good.
Yeah, that was
Endless Nights.
fantastic.
Yeah, so there was some really good stuff that came out in 2021, or again, some stuff's blending together into 2020 for me too. But I think it was a really good year creatively. At least it seems like from someone on the outside for music in Kingston. So that being said, what do you guys hope to see in 2022 for music here in Kingston? What does it look like to you?
We need a venue.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a medium, like you guys say, like a medium-sized venue.
Yeah.
Host all bands, all kind of events. I've always had envisioned this thing where it's a festival of Kingston, and it spotlights on a weekend somewhere friggin' big, just all of what Kingston has to offer, regardless of genre. We get DJs, we get rock, we get folk, we get bluegrass.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Everything. And that's what I've always envisioned Kingston could do, is just put on like an Ottawa Blues Fest, but of Kingston,
That would be
of the most bangingest bangers that you have of every genre. Get everybody in together, because music is what connects everybody, and it doesn't matter.
It would be nice to see next year if there was a mid-size venue, you know, open up. Now that I feel that there's a high demand for live music, like the Mansion is amazing. The Merchant is a decent venue. Like there's a ton of places that have live music.
These are all fairly small venues, though.
But there's no like perfect like mid-sized venue that could bring in like, you know, like touring acts and stuff like that. Because it's either like the Mansion, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, 125, or
Ale House.
Ale House, and this, you know, like Ale House is good, and then it's
terrible.
Well,
the further back you go in the balcony, it's terrible.
And then it's the Leon Center, you know. So like I feel like a good mid-sized venue would be great. But I also think 2022, I think I would like to see everybody get their second dose. I'd like to see the COVID numbers go down, and I'd like to see all of the bands and musicians who've really busted their balls to stay afloat, you know, and keep the rent paid. I'd like to see them do well and get back out on the road and be healthy and make music and
Opportunity.
yeah.
I'm really excited to see what happens with the grandstand, because I was so stoked when I saw that. I feel like everybody wants to play the McKinnon show. And then when they started actually bringing in bigger acts, like, first off, it's so awesome to see a show out there and be outside. But yeah, I think that I'm really excited to see where the grandstand goes, because it's a really cool idea.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, Jonas, you've played it twice now with the Back to the Farm and with the Bluestone show. I just, as someone who was emceeing Back to the Farm, just standing on that stage, it felt like a whole... I've always loved Back to the Farm.
Yeah, it's
even when I was on stage on the Hay Wagon introducing Greg Ball or whatever, there's something about that grandstand just felt so tangible and so real, right?
It was the best stage I've ever played on. I loved it.
Yeah.
So much room for activities. And I was wearing my cowboy boots and I was slipping and sliding. It was awesome. It's a beautiful stage and it feels like Woodstock. I don't know.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it totally
It's
does.
it's a little bit different. Like, I think it's a really cool thing that Kingston's going to have, that I hope it gets used a lot when the weather
It's
is ready
beautiful.
for it. Yeah.
Like I think you in the last podcast you guys did with them, they were saying that, you know, Kingston doesn't have like the Molson Amphitheater or the Air Canada Centre, you know what I mean? But it could be that. And I really hope it is that. Ciara, that's a wicked idea. It's a great point. I think that will be huge next summer.
So we need to put Ricky's festival idea on the grandstand. I think we've got a plan.
There's enough talent in town to just hit it out of the park.
I think it would be awesome. I'm very excited to just see what they do with it.
Totally.
What
And who comes there?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you could get some pretty interesting...
Sure you could.
And they've just been such an integral part of the music scene, you know, over the last few years. Like, you know, they're a brewery and a functional farm, and they have done so much for the music scene.
Just intense.
You know, it's like, it's really incredible that those guys, what they do for the community and like how they support everyone, and they're just so nice. Like the whole community around the farm, it like, and everybody who works there, it's like, it's a real privilege to like have them, you know, who they give a shit.
It's it's everything from something like Back to the Farm, where you've got, you know, these large bands playing with local bands, to going there on a weekend and seeing Christopher Jackson, you know, while you're having some beer, you know, like it really is. They have embraced it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there are a lot of venues in town who have embraced live music as much as they can in this weird world that we're living in, unfortunately, for places that relied on live music so much. I mean, the Mansion was a place where, you know, that was what I thought of when I thought of the Mansion, was this stage right here. And seeing bands on it. So I can only imagine what it's been like for a place like the Mansion to rework their business and figure out their life and their world. But to be able to embrace it now, I think, is a big thing. And hopefully, for me, if I'm answering my own question, in 2022, we do see these stages used a hell of a lot more. And, you know, to your point, Jonas, people having both their vaccines and able to be arm in arm again.
Yeah, totally.
Would be amazing.
Yeah. Also, I would just like to say that the Mansion has been so amazing over the last year, you know, 2021 in particular. Like, we were rehearsing here.
Yeah.
all the time getting ready for shows, and that was like, it felt really, really good to be practicing and rehearsing on the stage again and making use of the great sound system and the stage and the lights and stuff. It must have been very hard for them to be a music venue and not have live music in it, and they were really great in like making the space accessible and safe for people to rehearse so they could get ready to play shows again. Yeah. And shows we will play in bountiful quantities, I hope.
Fuck yeah.
Best of luck on the tour, by the way, Jonas.
Thanks very much,
which is
man.
Kicking off, as we record this, kicking off later this week, so hopefully your van is in place by then.
We hope it makes it.
And you're ready to go.
I hope so very much. I went to Costco yesterday, and I bought like 300 masks, hand sanitizer, and I got rapid COVID tests. I'm like, touring in a pandemic is fucking weird, dude. Like, this would not have been on my checklist 2 years ago. But thank you.
Jonas, Ricky, Ciara, thank you so much. I mean, 2021's a weird year to look back on. Yeah. Hopefully 2022 we can do something like this again, and it can have a lot more positive answers and a lot more. And again, not saying that it was. I'm not saying you were a downer. Jonas looked at me right away like you're talking about me.
I am a downer. I am a huge downer. I bum everyone out all the time.
But I just mean, hopefully in 2022. There is a lot more positivity in the music scene and in what's happening, because that light at the end of the tunnel is getting bigger by the day.
Absolutely.
And hopefully in 2022 we're out of the woods, right?
Thank you. Well, thanks so much for having us. And
Thank you.
Kingston Live Podcast is
So
amazing.
cool.
And I
Yeah.
listen
Best.
religiously to you guys. So
Every day.
Thanks for doing everything you do for
And for
all of
keeping
us.
everybody updated with what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, if I ever need a social plan, like, you guys are really on it for what's going on around town. So
KingstonLive.ca. Get all the music listings there. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
This has been Kingston Live. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. Kingston Live was produced in Kingston by Titan Sound. Hosted by Sideshow. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Voiceover and technical production by John Sanfilippo. Promotional photos by Virginia Meeks. Executive producer Rob Howard. Kingston Live is a member of the Canadian Live Music Association. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca.
So on Thursday, we went up to the gig in Ottawa in a convoy. I borrowed that truck, and I sent everybody else up in a convoy. And then I realized that the trailer lights weren't working.
Oh, shit.
So then I ran around like a headless chicken trying to find somebody to fix the trailer wiring while the rest of the band was already on the way to
Yeah.
Ottawa. Nobody could do it.
Oh, dude.
After I put $175 fucking worth of gas in there, and then I had to switch it out with another truck that belonged to my old boss. And then I filled that truck up. And then I came back to Kingston, and then I found the next morning the reason why the trailer lights weren't working is just because I hadn't turned them on.
Oh,
Are you dude?
shit.
Well, good thing you didn't, like, pay for a mechanic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just give me a fucking van.
Just awesome.
That's why I chose to just be KaKaow.
Yeah. I don't ever want to play in a band ever again.
Playing